And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu. As you see, we are now video ready. This is our first episode of a new series called the White Belt Chronicles, and this is a series where we're going to take a look into the early stages of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journeys of white belts and celebrate really the uniqueness of the white belt journey. And coming to you this evening, this is the first episode. It's Super Bowl Sunday. We're recording this, and my special guest, and super happy to have him on, is white belt at Alliance Roswell. This is Yakov Kolan.
Yep.
Nice.
Kolan.
Nailed it.
But that's good.
So Yakov has been training at Roswell now for a year. Are you almost a year?
Exactly a year.
Nice.
Exactly.
What day did you make a year?
February 1st. So almost,
Man, so like a year and what, 8 days, 9 days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 days.
Yeah, well, man, I can't wait to have the conversation and learn more about what inspired you to step on the mat. I mean, all of us have a story. I love hearing about people's story. I mean, we had Master Jacare on. I heard his story. Our professors come on, and all the stories are different, but there's a lot of similarities, so I'm excited to hear yours. But before we get into anything, you just competed this weekend for the first time.
I did, yep.
Yeah, man, how was it?
It was something. A lot of feelings, I got to tell you.
What was it like building up to going into the bullpen?
So, I'll even think about the leading up week to it. So I was just doing a lot of travel lately and kind of getting in my head of I'm not going to be ready, or my stamina is going to go down. And I tried this week kind of not thinking about competition. Tried to think about making weight, eat airplane food and whatnot. You get up a bit, so I try to make weight. Be ready. I got a bit of a cut here, so I said I don't want to bleed during the match, which happened, by the way, but whatever. And and then getting in the bullpen, I was like, okay, let's start. I gotta start already. It's there. I'm ready. Whatever will be would be. I should be ready. And match started. It took me a few seconds. I was like, oh wait, it's on. So.
Yeah, it was like a haze when I remember getting on the first time, and I don't think things were moving in slow motion, but it was a weird feeling. Yeah, it was super weird.
For sure, yeah, it's something
You
different for
fought
sure.
what, twice?
I fought twice.
Twice, right? And so you got silver, right?
I did.
And it was a what? It was a 3-4 person bracket. What division did you fight in?
So I fought in Master 2 in lightweight.
Nice.
Essentially, there was another Alliance guy. So I think they didn't go with the round robin. They started first. There was a ranked guy and another Alliance who also started for the first time. And the defeated guy I fought. So essentially, I also watched the match before, so maybe it helped. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I went up with the guy, passed my way.
Yeah. It's always nice if you get to see your opponent first. I remember the second competition I was in, I was able to beat my first competitor, but I don't know if it was because I watched him or not. I don't know. I just the second time I competed, I just wasn't as nervous, and I was a little more focused. And but 2 of the 3 times I competed was at white belt. So I was like yourself. You're 4-stripe white belt, right? So I was just like you, 4-stripe white belt, and yeah, I wasn't as nervous. And then the second guy, I did lose to him, but again, the nerves weren't as bad or as strong, I guess you could say.
No, yeah. I agree. I mean, for my second fight, I actually I was afraid I'm a bit gassed, from all, first fight, you're just giving it all, right? And I'm kind of, my hands are really stiff, and I thought I had time to, relax, but then suddenly they kind of cut 30 minutes from the waiting. You see your name suddenly move. I'm like, wait, what the heck? I thought I was going to rest a bit more. And I was like out of breath, and I was okay, but let's not think about it. Let's lead. Let's because I saw the guy and I said, okay, I know what this guy's gonna do. It's, a bit tall guy. He's gonna shoot. He's gonna, pull guard right away or try to De La Riva. I knew it for sure. And, I went over with Professor and I was confident. I'll be honest. Here, I wasn't, anxiety was out a bit. I felt like I'm ready. I was worried too much about my breathing, but, besides that, but then he did what we expected, but I wasn't able to stop it. So,
What did you think about just the whole atmosphere of, your first jiu-jitsu competition?
So, you go in and it's the first time. So I actually never joined. Somehow every competition that was before that, I had something. So I never even joined. I didn't even know what was I'm coming towards, right? Like going through the doors. Okay, let's find the team, let's find everyone. Kind of getting into it, seeing the early fights. I've seen, our team compete and everything. And it's kind of, it's great. Everyone's together and there's always someone, who's ready coming up and they spread it so much. We had someone fighting at 12, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah, and you're running between mats, right?
Exactly. Just going right and, all around and everything. And it was cool. Like I didn't expect spending there the whole day. I was scheduled to fight at 4:30. I knew that the previous match I wanted to watch, the one I'm gonna get was at 4. So okay, I said I come at 3. I'm pacing around the house. I can't. My wife's telling me, just go. I am so excited, and so I arrived there around
Yeah.
like 1:30. And we ended up being there up until like 7 something, and so it's a day of it. And then next time I'll come prepared.
Yeah, I never fight no-gi, so I don't fight on the Sunday. And maybe one day, but when I was a white belt, my fight was the very last fight of the day. Like no one else was around. Like even people were starting to leave, and
Pack up.
it was just like it was kind of it was hard having that anxiety all day, like all day. I just would have loved to gotten there and kind of got it out of the way. And then for my blue belt competition, my first one, I fought my division, which was pretty cool. I think it was around noon or something. And then I signed up for open division, kind of thinking the same thing, like, oh, it's gonna, these fights are gonna go fast. Yeah, but the open division wasn't even starting until like 6:30 or 7, and I was like, whoa. And then I looked at everybody, it was like all ultra heavy, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Well, that's great, man. Congratulations on your first competition.
Thank you.
We had some great training sessions before. That was a crazy training session we had on Wednesday before. We did 10 rolls?
10
It was
Great.
10 rounds. I don't know. I think people were worried about me. I was looking pretty rough.
I don't think anyone was there who didn't look.
Let's talk about let's get into your journey. Let's talk a little bit about maybe kind of maybe your first thoughts and impressions, or maybe that first day or even week in class. Were you nervous to start jiu-jitsu? I know in some of the information you shared preparing for the podcast, you've always had kind of a passion for sports and physical things. What do you remember the most about it?
So I was always doing something throughout, my life. If it's more active sports, if it's soccer or running or things like that, if it's boxing, wrestling, there's always something. But I never really joined anything for doing it for a while and anything. And I didn't even know that jiu-jitsu is something that you'd want to do 4 or 5 times a week, right? It was like, let's just, hit 3 times a week. So for many years, wherever I lived, moving throughout cities, there's always a place close by, and I never got into, let's go and start. So one day I'm sitting on the couch and I'm seeing this, commercial for Alliance. Literally the first thing that comes up, and it's like, you know what? Checking the distance, that's not too far. I don't care if there's even a gym that's closer. I'm going there because, it won there, by default. And I signed up, I talked to Matt, came over to a trial. And he's like, after the trial, okay, how do you want to do it? Because you get three trials. I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need. Let's sign up. That's what I needed. I'm not, let's do that on a regular basis. I'm telling him I can see myself doing this 2, 3 times. He's like, if you want to get better, doing it 4 or 5. And at first I said, yeah, like see how it goes. The week that was a Thursday, so I came Thursday, Friday. Immediately that second week, 4 or 5 times a week straight for about 6 months. So
Yeah.
never looked back.
It's that consistency. It just grabs you,
Yeah.
you know, it just really kind of, it's hard to explain to people who have never done jujitsu, or, you know, sometimes I think we're looked at and people are like, man, these people are crazy, have really drank the Kool-Aid here on this jujitsu thing. Like, we do it all the time, but it's an amazing thing that it gives you, you know. And yeah, I kind of had the same experience, right? I was training a couple times a day, and yeah, it was for months, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you started right away, high intensity. That's
All right. So next question, man. How did you find the gym environment, the other instructors? I know you talked about meeting Matt, but what were some of your first impressions of your training partners? Did anything stand out?
So the thing that really stood out the most, and I wasn't familiar with, being, doing jiu-jitsu for the first time, is that, everyone cares. Everyone's there. It's not like you get assigned with someone who's doing it for so long and it's like you're afraid of, not knowing how to do the drills and everything. And no one cares. Everyone's there to help you. Everyone's and it was so, and no matter who, like that was great. And then I ended up kind of the same partners within time, right? I was doing a lot of noon, so we were kind of 3 4 people, always the same people. So we were all starting at the same time. If it's Josh, if it's Will, at the time he was at the gym, if you remember him. And we were
Yeah, I remember
big
Will,
guy, yeah,
big
yeah.
guy.
And it was great. And also if it's evening, so Marco most of the time. And always super helpful, just great, to train with. And I remember thinking to myself, is this guy a white belt? I have a long way. He was still white belt at the time, so I was like, whoa, okay.
What did you find initially most challenging or maybe surprising about jujitsu?
So I'll be honest. I mean, the most challenging is after a half a year, around, I want to say July or so. In one of the drills, I kind of twisted my knee, started hurting, never stopped,
Mm.
really hurted, and found out after a couple. You never check something right away, right? You kind of give it some time, take some pills or whatever, and then after a month and a half, I go to the doctor. This doesn't go away. I don't roll anymore because it's bothering too much. Found out I tore my meniscus, which it's kind of granted to happen. I think in
Yeah, yeah.
getting used to the fact. Yeah, yeah.
So
Go ahead.
how yeah, so overcoming that, how long were you out?
So most of July and August, I was at first not even in class, but then I said, I'll just come to class, do the drills, and I won't roll because it was very hard on me just sitting on the side not rolling. And I said, you know what? No,
Mhm.
I don't want to lose class. If I can do it, I can do it. And I got a brace, of course. Also, and I'm still, by the way, I'm still with the brace. I have to say that I use it for jiu-jitsu, but I don't feel anything, and I didn't do any surgery, and so I'm just gonna continue doing it. And ask the doctor. He's like, "Do I need to do the surgery right now?" And he's like, "No, you can wait." I'm like, "I'm gonna wait." So just
Yeah, the way
remember using my brace.
hopefully, yeah, well, hopefully insurance companies will get sorted out and you can you can do it then. I put off all major surgeries if I can just because of the insurance.
I just don't want to be out.
I
I wanna, at
Yeah,
least at
right?
least until
It's
my
my
at least
biggest
until
fear.
my blue belt, for sure. I mean, like in competing.
Yeah.
I even wanted to compete in September. Like I thought, I'm okay, let's roll, a bit. But then, July, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna compete. And then after starting to roll again, I was like, you know what? I wasn't even close to being ready. So he's like, so much. It's good that it didn't start then. I even brought my car, so I didn't even know how the competition is gonna be, and I thought if I'll get in a submission, someone's gonna do it so hard, something might break. I even remember I said, don't forget bring your insurance card, just so just
Yeah.
for if I break my hand or something. Cause I didn't even know. So I think that's
Yeah.
something that's what I fear, like, because I'm kind of stubborn, and it's not smart, but I don't want to. And you might see that sometimes I don't want to tap, even if it's in the
No, no,
and
yeah, I
it's,
do.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
noticed
I'm
that.
not saying it's smart. I know it's silly, and I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Testing myself if I can still go, and because of that, and especially in competition, I was afraid, like and get yourself in trouble, not give up, and
Yeah, we hear it. So the phrase, what's the catchphrase? Tap soon, tap often, or something like that, right? Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
we're taught to tap, especially in training. But there are times where I'll fight the tap a little if I know I'm thinking about the escape, right? Like if I'm going, but if I know like there's just no way, if anybody ever inverts on my arm, like from an inverted arm bar, I'm tapping immediately when I feel their body on it, because there's just, you know, it takes seconds for that to break. But yeah, I think it's okay in the sense of, look, right when you feel a little pressure or discomfort, maybe that's not a tap, right? And maybe we're taught escapes for everything almost. I think Professor Maciel says it best, the only way out of a locked in submission though is to tap, right? So if it's fully locked in, the technique is completely there, and their legs are where they're supposed to be, and their hands are where they're supposed to be, and you just feel when okay, yeah, this is time to tap, right? So I think all of us probably, and I don't think it's an ego thing either. I think it's I want to try to,
it's
at
not
least
an
for
ego.
me,
It's not like,
I
yeah,
want to try to escape, right? I want to try to keep going. I want to try to get myself out of this bad position.
it's not ego. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna fall asleep before I tap or whatever. No, it's like I want to see if I can get out of it or still, give it a few more seconds, and that might be crucial one time, but
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had maybe once, maybe twice, uh, rolling with a training partner where they had a choke in and I wasn't tapping right away, and they kind of gave up on it because they thought, well, maybe it's not as deep and it's as right. And I'm seconds away from going to sleep here, and this guy doesn't know it, but yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't think that. I think if ego is the reason someone doesn't tap, then yeah, that's an issue, because you're going to end up getting hurt, right? Someone's going to end up getting hurt, especially in competition, because there's people in competition in some of these training centers and these schools and academy. I mean, they're taught to rip, and they're ripping submissions in training, and it's I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff on the IBJJF Opens when I watch them, like out in Texas and California, and the Europeans are insane. If you ever watch those on TV, the submissions, and yeah, I think if ego is in play, then the practitioner is gonna get hurt, and for no reason. I mean, if you're already gonna lose the match in the roll, you don't want to have a broken bone to go with it.
for sure.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about maybe some, I don't know if you did this, and some people I think do it and some people may not, but key milestones or kind of key lessons maybe you've learned along the way. Have there ever been maybe any specific moments that stood out to you? And I know competition may be one of them, but like maybe it was your first submission that you pulled off, or it could be even, I mean, I still remember my first stripe. You've got 4 of those now. But are there any milestones or any moments that you can recall back that kind of stand out?
So of course, there's the given milestones, right? First stripe or second stripe when you start rolling, and any other stripe. But I think what stands out for me, because I'll be honest, I don't remember who I rolled with first or who I tapped first. I just don't remember that. But what I do remember is to feel I'm actually getting better significantly. Like somewhat, I think it was not, it was like somewhere between my third to fourth stripe. I think my second stripe was during also the app from second to third was during also my injury, so it was kind of like, half rolling, half not. But
Yeah.
then from third to fourth, I was like suddenly starting to feel right. I'm doing my moves. I have a rhythm. I have a game plan. Like suddenly I know what I'm not just reacting. Of course, fighting even till this day, of course, against blue belts and everything, I don't really control anything. I just defend for 5 minutes. But actually, when fighting, the other white belts, or even sometimes if a blue belt will let me kind of do my thing, of course it happens, right? I mean, so I know when it happens, and I just try to do. And then it really struck, and it's like, okay, now I'm seeing really big advancement, because like I can control some paces, or I know what I'm doing, right? It's not just like positional and then, okay, there's one thing I'm trying to do when we drill it. But here it's like, okay, I'm, on top and bottom, and I'm going to go for something which might be 2, 3 moves away, but I'm going to go to it. And that really, for me, it's the biggest milestone, maybe before the competition, right? I mean, competition is kind of a big one, but, knowing that this is now the biggest stamp for me, not just the ones on the way that, is based on attendance, right? The one that is kind of the feeling that I can come home, in the drive. And most of the times you kind of drive back feeling like, man, I got beat today. But I was like, came back really happy. Like, okay, I'm feeling this like amped up suddenly in one day.
And as far as we if we think about the impact jiu-jitsu has off the mats, both on and off the mats, what would you say are maybe one or two valuable lessons that jiu-jitsu has taught you about yourself, about life, about just anything?
First thing is, you can always find a new hobby, right? I'm 35 years old, as they say, not too young, not too old, right? 35, but
That's right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Middle of the road,
you know,
man.
just something new you can always add, and just finding the time to do it. Family, kids. I got 2 kids, one on the way, and it doesn't matter.
So you have two
Yeah,
and one on the
exactly,
way.
exactly.
You're trying to catch up,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and
You're getting there.
great supportive wife. So she knows I love it, and she always, never, I think once, and I used to do 4 or 5 times. Now I kind of decreased it a bit, but never like, no, don't go today, or as long as we are always in communication, it's like, hey, I'm going to do the advanced class today, I'm going to come back a bit later or whatever, all good. And and you could always start. There's no, I like to see that, demanding job, 2 kids, pregnant wife, but you could still do it. So it's so many things, it's, you're asking me, what does it teach you? And it's like, okay, you can always do something new, and you can always give the dedication, right? And then you always get another stamp of how great your environment is, or is it not? But for me, just, another stamp of, everything is great, and my environment's helping me, get getting that done, or basically my wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else, man? Like that maybe I know one thing for me, I never really knew how far I could push my body. I mean, people think like let's take a marathon runner for instance. That takes a lot of cardio, a lot of endurance, but it's different, man. And those 3 or 5 minute rolls, like it's an exhaustion like you can't believe. So for me, it was really realizing how far I could push my body, even, in my 40s from a physical aspect.
No, for sure. I was always doing sports, and when I talked to a professor, and he's like, "How do I, train my body for it?" And before I started rolling, and he's like, "No, you have to start rolling. That's the only way you get better." I'm like thinking to myself, "There has to be a way," and I'm like always running or doing intervals or whatever, sprinting, but no, like the second you start rolling,
You can be in the best shape of your
it's
life,
crazy.
right? I mean, and we have people
Yeah,
coming in, they're in the best shape of their life, right? I mean, if somebody can look at Tyler and say this guy's not in shape, they're the biggest liar
yeah,
on the planet, right? And he'll tell you it
yeah,
smokes you. Cal and I were talking about that. It was yesterday or today. He started doing hit training and stuff like that in the mornings, and because that's what he said, he wants to prepare for when he starts rolling, right? When he gets his second stripe, and he's going to be in super shape. He's going to be in more shape than probably I definitely was when I started. But he's going to hit that 2 minute mark. It's going to be
yeah,
gas. It's crazy. So yeah, for
yeah.
me it's cool to hear the different lessons that it teaches people early on. So let's pivot a little bit to one of the things I found and still find to this day super awesome about jujitsu is the connections that I've built, the friendships that I've made, the jiu-jitsu community, right? And jiu-jitsu is so much about community. How has jiu-jitsu or how has training maybe influenced your social and your personal life and building connections and relationships. And, I'm not asking like these for you to go super deep emotionally here, but like, the sense of building a community and making those new connections.
So in general, I moved here only, in October 23. So anyway, I was new to the area, new to the country. I mean, I've lived here before 10 years.
I was about to say, when you say
Yeah. So,
moved here, do you mean
I
moved to
moved
the
to the
U.S.?
US. I used to live here about 10 years ago for a few years, but I'm from Israel. So I moved here also ironically in October 23, which is not mentioned as a good month, but not dwelling on that. So, everything was new, right? You're getting to meet new people, everything. And getting to know everyone and seeing, not not just that they care about you improving like we talked before, but you tend to spend a lot of time with these people, and you get to care about, ask about them a bit of, personal stuff, their work, so you hear someone's looking for a job or, just talking about, hey, how many kids you have, what are you doing with the kids and everything. It's kind of nice, it's like, not just we're here and we're going to train and go it's kind of nice. Or sometimes we have the events, we meet up at a restaurant, or we did one just before the holidays, and so it's kind of nice, especially since for me everything was kind of new, right? Moving to a completely new place, kind of starting from scratch, even with friends and everything, kind of fit right in.
Yeah, and it's also, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems to me like the bonds are quicker. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I mean, especially if they're pretty cool person. I mean, I don't think I've ever come across anyone that like I couldn't tolerate or whatever for any reason. I mean, we have some amazing people in our school and academy, but it's almost like we come from different backgrounds. I mean, you just said you came here from Israel, right? And you kind of alluded to it's probably during a lot of the conflict and stuff there, right? So your life experiences are way different than mine and probably most of the people that we train with. But we have doctors, we have nurses, we have CEOs, we have recruiters, we have high school students. I mean, but I think we bond so quickly because it's jujitsu, right? For an hour, we're literally on top of each other, right? Trying to strangle each other and, giving each other pointers on how to do it better. And it's just kind of like just a great equalizer. And I think that is, I think that's something that helps with the bonding part,
Yeah, for
in
sure.
my
I mean,
opinion.
everything's kind of already on the table, right? I mean, it's not like you're just sitting across someone and like, okay, making awkward conversation over a weird, I don't know, sales dinner or whatever, right? I mean, you're anyway kind of, let's say, exposed, right? I mean, you're trying to tap each other, and second afterwards, hey, good job, man, and just tend to kind of talk, during drilling, whatever, and everything's opens up easy, kind of. It's you know, don't need to try even.
Yeah, another question I wanted to ask, something that come up when you were just now talking is what does is there any part of the community and the bonds or connections you've made, does any of that help keep you motivated to continue training?
I can say I do, check who's, signing up. So it's always nice knowing like,
Oh, on the app.
although especially now I kind of sign for the evening so I can do also the competition class. But it used to be like, let's check if I want to see, kind of, who you want to roll with or to partner with or stuff like that. I don't think it ever affected if I'll ever sign or not, but it could help if I do the noon or evening class for sure. Like, seeing some specific names, but I don't think if it wasn't like the choice was the couch or, going to the gym.
Yeah, you're gonna get your training in at some
Yeah.
point today. It's just which session do you want to go? Yeah, yeah, it's hard sometimes when you see. Well, for us for the app, sometimes the app has issues, but I do check the app to make sure someone's going to be there. I I do for me. I definitely feel the community keeps me motivated. I enjoy because I've trained across all sessions multiple times, and just they've always kind of all been in my routine, and we all kind of rotate through all of them. It's not, you know, we used to kind of have the morning class, lunch class, and those set for the evening classes, but now it just seems like as we've grown, it's kind of migrated through. But for me, it's just like, man, I'm excited just to see anybody in any of their sessions, right? Because everybody's kind of so really cool, and you know, we all vibe well together. Um, yeah, do I want to go and have to roll for an hour where everybody knows that it's just going to be absolutely, I'm going to just get destroyed the entire time? It kind of sucks. But if that's the only time I know I can get there, yeah, I'm not going to sit on the couch, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, even if it's like, this Thursday, for example, and I saw that no one's coming, you know, happens that I had a competition, so coach did just like more of like stamina, and like all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
drills to help like conditioning. So that was even great. I was like, we should do that on a regular basis. I think we used to do something like
Yeah,
that in
yeah.
competition in the earlier times, and then it kind of stopped. So I was doing that for an hour, and I was like, that's excellent. So it's like whenever I can come, regardless of who's there, I'll try. I'll try to see what's what. But I don't want to skip. Going to class. There's always something to drill. Yes, you might need a rib cage alignment if you get the 30 minutes with coach. But it is what it is.
Oof. Yeah, yeah. It's I always can't help myself when this happens, but you know, when someone makes their second stripe and they kind of come over to that side, then he eventually says, "Okay, now I'm going to roll with you." It's almost like a car accident. I can't look away. Right? I'm like, people are smashing me, and I'll have like Randall on top of me smashing me, but I'll be looking at what's going on with coach in the new two stripe because I know that pain. But no, I just it's so cool to have the diversity of training partners that we have from a skill set level is what I'm talking about when I talk about diversity, right? And we have some super athletic and flexible people. We have people like myself that move stiff as a board. We have super high competitors. We have high energy people. It's fun. You got every flavor that you could possibly want to train with. This is White Belt Chronicles, and we're focusing on that first bit of your journey, and you've been through the early struggles and successes. I would say in jiu-jitsu, you've already got some successes. I mean, you already have some hardware. You've got 4 stripes on your belt. You're working on studying for your test for your blue belt. But if you could think about all the way back to day one or whatever, what advice would you give someone just starting out? Some of these, a few of these people, even in the last week or two, have just walked in and started their trial class. What advice would you give some of them? And then, if you could come up with an ad or something, and it's going to be televised to those who may be sitting on the couch wanting to try jiu-jitsu out. So advice for those who are just starting, and advice for those who may be thinking about starting.
So for those who started, I would say come, enjoy, make the time for it, try to be there as much as you can, learn new things and see new things, see what you could be, right? Because you just start and you're like, am I going to be any good at this? And, for a long time, you're going to feel like, I don't know how to do this, right? But, you can see how people get, and people are always helpful, and everyone started the same. Like, even for me, like, amazing that now I'm already helping, a new generation, right? Like of people. And, or even those with 2 stripes just, passing their test and starting to tell them what to do. And I was like, I was just there. I was just there. How am I already help so much help, so it passes. If you make the time for it and you dedicate it, good amount of time for it, you'll be there, and and it's great. So that's definitely something I would say to someone starting is like,
The
for sure.
consistency
For
is what
sure.
you're
For
talking
sure.
about. Yeah, I think that's important, especially if you really like it. If you like, you by that second class, if if jiu-jitsu is going to be for you. I feel that way. I don't think jiu-jitsu is something you have to try for a month or for a week to decide if it's going to be for you. I believe
Yeah,
for
sure.
And what about for those people who may be thinking about starting? I mean, I don't know if you've ever come across people. I used to come across people like this a lot when they find out I was in the military. Be like, yeah, I've been thinking about joining. I mean, I've been, I wish I would have joined. If we see this with jiu-jitsu too, we talk to people or we come across people and they find out, we do jiu-jitsu and they're like, yeah, I've been thinking about that. I hear a lot about that. What would you say to those people?
Come try something new, It's like test your body. So many things, right? I mean, we talked about it, for now. If it's, coordination, remembering, techniques, stamina when you start rolling. So many things. So even for me, before even rolling, I kind of felt I'm still doing some sort of a good workout. I'm feeling that my body is doing all kinds of things, grips and whatnot. And, especially if someone's always doing some sort of sports, definitely something new, type of fighting, and definitely worth trying.
Yeah, thanks so much for kind of sharing that insight and really just giving some perspective of how people can kind of reach those that are interested in training, those that are just starting, because it's important, right? And I think you talked a little bit about this already because you shared about what happened with your knee. Or it was your knee, right? Yeah, with your knee. But there's always setbacks and moments of doubt. And do you have those moments of doubt? And if you do, like, maybe this is talking to the other white belts out there who are kind of early in their journey. How do you deal with things like that? Setbacks, moments of doubt. You had mentioned realizing that jiu-jitsu is starting to make sense to you, but before
Even
that, you had
after,
to do
I mean,
something,
again,
right?
right? I mean,
Because
it makes sense,
yeah,
when you have the option, the opportunity, but sometimes you roll, and for a long time now, I've been rolling only with blue belts. It just happens that, noon classes, blue belts, it's you, Randall, Marco, and at the evening, the same, with competition class, Alex. And so there were times that where I would come and I always get being led and I'm only defending, that's all I'm doing for 5 minutes. But there have been times that I would, really being, bad, and I felt like, and like a few days straight going back feeling like, man, this is, you know I suck, right? I mean, it's annoying, and you feel like you finish, and after the last round, after we're doing the row, and people are sitting chatting, and you're like sitting and like, damn, that was a bad, I didn't feel like I did anything useful today. It happened, and again, it happened after that milestone, definitely beforehand. But to get over it, first of all, I had people just come over and say, noticeable that you're improving. Like, don't bring yourself down. And so if it's like Alex, he likes to cheer me up when I get tapped too many times, or even Sandy one time, I think wasn't rolling because something was, maybe her knee, but she was like, listen, I'm seeing it. You are getting better. I mean, don't, put yourself too much, pressure. That helps. So we talked about the community. So the community will help you get over the setback 100%.
yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that. I couldn't agree more. I really like how it sounds like you were saying that really it's the community that helps you overcome setback. And we've talked about the community earlier in the chat. And I think that's one of the things that would keep me going too, and did keep me going. I mean, I don't think I've ever said I want to quit jujitsu, but there are times where your mind plays tricks on you, right? And you're like, man, do I need to be doing this? But it lasts usually about 4 seconds, and you go to the next roll and do a lot better, right? So, well, let's talk a little bit before we get to the end of the episode today, and talk a little bit about what's next. What are your goals? Maybe as a white belt. Most of the time, as a white belt, our goal is to become a blue belt, but there may be some more specific goals. There may be some things and techniques that you want to improve on that you really like, and that sort of thing. And then also, now that you've started competing, so really two questions. The first one around the things that you want to improve and things like that, and your goals as a white belt. And then the second question is, now that you're competing, where do you want to end up in your competition career, say, 4 or 5 years down the road?
Of course, you want to do your blue belt. I also want not just to study for the test, right, as a test that you're just going over, but like really feeling that you know, I deserve that belt, right? I mean, there's always winning a competition, and you're saying, oh, if I win a competition, do I get a belt? And I'll be honest, if I would have won yesterday, I still don't think I would have, like, I wouldn't want to get a belt because I'm still not there. So I want to have that feeling. So of course I'm gonna study for the test regardless, right? You want to be prepared, but it's also feeling that I know, okay, I belong here. I could wear that blue with pride, right? So it's not just, So that's important for me to feel that, to see that I'm there. I'm still not there, of course. Still hopefully not too far. I want to say that May I want to feel different. May maybe, especially if I can compete as well and tap back cancer, and then May maybe that's enough. That's not too far. That's 3 months down, but you know but also it builds with the moves, right? So I mentioned that I'm kind of having my own rhythm, but I still think that I'm, a lot of things, stand up game for sure. I want to improve. I want to, up until the competition, I wasn't even sure on what. I don't pull guard, right? So
Yeah, I
so
noticed you
that's
started
the
doing
thing.
that a lot more
Up
lately.
until recently, I was like,
Like you pulled the guard a few times when
but
we
that's
were
the thing.
rolling
I
last
wasn't even
Wednesday.
sure
I
what is
was
my
yeah. You
starting
usually go
move,
for
right?
takedowns.
Up until recently, do I pull guard? Do I try to sweep you, or even go to takedown, or whatever, like trip you? And I started kind of getting into what I'm gonna try to do based on what, and that's definitely something, because especially competing again, it's not like everything's competition. You want to win rolls during the week, but it's like, if I don't have a plan going in and I'm just kind of, moving around or getting grips, I'm getting being led the entire row. And I want to start doing that. Gave me the confidence to kind of always be in a down position and kind of know how to defend, but I also need to start leading. So definitely something I want to achieve.
Has there any been, how can I say this? Let me start over. Is there any technique or guard or submission that really you enjoy
We
and that
talked
you're
about it in
working on?
class. I started doing the lasso a lot. You helped me also kind of improve that technique a bit. I've seen
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
good success in my lasso
Yeah, that's
sweeps.
a good one.
So, but now people know I do it, so they know how to defend it. So it's kind of also, when, even if
Yeah,
they know
they're
I'm gonna do it, still, being able to do so, or especially for example, on the other side, being in guard, and I was always terrible in escaping the guard. I could never escape it, and then I started doing the Sao Paulo pass. And suddenly, boom! It kind of worked, but now people are expecting it, so it's a setback. It's always harder for me now, but you know so just improving, having those moves that I do, and just perfect them every time, and then no matter if people know they're coming, they're still gonna work.
as we kind of wrap up, is there anything that, maybe takeaways or lessons you'd like to leave with the listeners? And also, how can the listeners maybe connect with you if they'd like to follow your journey? I have the Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu community podcast. I don't know if you do anything on IG, Twitter, or anything like that. But yeah, you just any kind of final takeaways, and then how can people get in touch with you if they want to
So
connect,
I think that the
learn
best
more?
takeaway is, like, you see so many options open up once you start, right? I mean, you can just go to class, or, you meet people, or you can go and compete. I even see myself, like, hopefully again, with a baby on the way, I need to see how it goes, but I want to even travel for that. I would say, find something, up to 8 hours drive, even. I don't care. Do a weekend out of it. Go there. I mentioned Memphis at the start. It's in a
Mm-hmm.
week. I'm not gonna do it because I can't even sign up. But, like, if that would be in a month, I would do it. I would just go, you know, take maybe another day off at work, just so it's an extended weekend or whatever. Go compete, be with the family. I love, getting in the car, driving. One of the things that we kind of do a lot. So definitely more than just a hobby, right? I mean, it's embedded in my life. So definitely something that once you start, can have so many options, and of course, putting aside the fact that competing itself, putting itself in deep waters, testing your body, thinking about the outcomes. That's that's definitely something I want to do more often.
Let me ask you this, not to interrupt you or cut you off, but so you're about to have your third child, and this is something I think about because I have 5 kids, all
Girl
boys.
and a boy and a boy
What's the
son.
ratio of your children? What are their man? What do you think about them possibly seeing dad competing and all of this, and then getting into jiu-jitsu? Have you thought about that? Because I think about that.
So my daughter always kind of, I'm trying to get her to try a class, and she's like, sometimes yes, I want to come, and sometimes no. I even showed her, in
How
Instagram,
old is she?
the kids, and she like, yeah, you can do that, and that kids are doing it as well. My son always says he wants, but he's 4, so he can't do it yet. So he might come, and even the competition. So
Not yet.
I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
first competition I come, I go by myself. I want to bring. I don't even know the environment.
Yep. Same.
Something, and always, warms the heart, and after all, I came home and like, oh, we're so proud of you, and very, and like, oh, we're so happy, and I see the
You're
medal,
looking
of
at your
course, like
medal, like, oh, this
my
is so
dad even
cool.
my dad, he was like,
It's a good
hey,
medal.
come sit with me, tell me about what was the tournament like really expect, and that, melted me away. It was so fun, and like thinking about even telling my wife today, let's see, it's kind of a, lengthy day, but let's see how we can do next tournament. Maybe we bring the kids, maybe I don't know, but definitely something I want to
Yeah.
get them involved. I think we also had a talk all the before the podium. So guy who won first place, the third, they all have kids doing, both have kids doing jiu-jitsu, and I was like, man, everyone's bringing their kids. Gotta do that already, not just talk about it.
Yeah, I do get a little bit jealous sometimes. Because some of my boys want to train too, but they want to train at Alliance. So like, well, I want to train at Alliance, and it's hard for me to get them there, because I live so far out. If I live closer, if there was Alliance down here closer, which I hope Master Jacare listens to this and opens one in Brazelton or Flowery Branch. But yeah, it goes back to what we talked about also earlier, like when you have your family involved in it and like on board. Because I've noticed since my brother-in-law, because Cal, I don't know if you know this or not, but he's my brother-in-law. He's Rebecca's uh, brother. Yeah, like it's so cool to have somebody in the family to talk about jujitsu with and moves. We're talking about getting mats for in this room, and like portable mat and drilling and stuff like that. And it's kind of cool. So yeah, and I wish I would have asked you earlier, but that's when you started talking a little bit more about your kids, that kind of sparked the question. So thanks for taking a few minutes on it. Now, if how can listeners connect with you? Do you have IG
So I
that,
do
that
have
people follow you
accounts. I
at?
have
Is
to say
there
I'm not really active. I'm not really
email?
doing anything. IG, Facebook, whatever. Just my name. So Yakov_Kolan. Um, I mean, I'm there. I go and see the the what Alliance just posted. On the regular. See, that's about it. That's
You
all I
getting
do, right? I
those
mean,
fist
just go
bumping?
see what's what. But if sometimes there's a conversation, sometimes I'll upload something, but basically I'm just tagged and seeing what's what.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just good that people would have a place if they had any questions, because a lot of people listen to the podcast, and now it's going to be cool to see that we're putting a face and video to this. So thank you so much for again being the first one in the shoot for video for Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu. So yeah, man. Well, look, that's a wrap for this episode of Caffeinated Jiu-Jitsu and our very first episode in the series of White Belt Chronicles.